So some of you who may have watched Donald Trump's second to last rally in Pennsylvania may have seen a familiar face, vaguely familiar. When I watched the rally, I saw this guy walk up into the stage. He was one of the speakers that spoke before Donald Trump came on the stage. And I saw this guy, really didn't know who he was at first. And then I heard him open his mouth. And I said, wait a second, that's Mike Pompeo. What's going on? All of Trump's campaign, no Mike Pompeo. Then all of a sudden, the second to last rally, we see a Mike Pompeo. What is happening? Well, it was also very interesting to listen to Mike Pompeo's rhetoric about Donald Trump, how he was talking about Donald Trump. I'm like, hold on a second. This is not how Mike Pompeo has been talking about Donald Trump for the past couple of years. And I'll show you that in a second. But this is what Mike Pompeo had to say about Donald Trump at his rally in Pennsylvania, second to last rally, right before the election. Listen.
I have traveled the world some these last 3 years, and I get asked all the time, what was it like being Donald Trump's Secretary of State? And I have to tell you, I have given the same answer hundreds of times. It was the greatest privilege of my life.
Oh, interesting.
It was the greatest privilege of my life because what President Trump was able to achieve was to keep you and your family safe and secure. And what these folks have done in the last 3.5 years have put every one of us at risk. And if there were 4 more years, if there were to be a President Harris, we would have more wars, we would have less peace, and America would never be put first. We can't let that happen. I watch the bad guys in the world take advantage of President Biden and Vice President Harris, and I know the difference between a strong, effective leader like Donald Trump and someone like Vice President Harris, who will only lead to more chaos and more risk in the world.
So why is Mike Pompeo being trotted out onto the stage, the second to last rally of Donald Trump's campaign? First off, I'd like to preface this by saying I don't blame Donald Trump for this one bit. I believe Donald Trump is a good man, but sometimes I am fairly skeptical of his advisors and also a little bit skeptical of Howard Lutnick of his transition team. But what's going on here is they are testing the waters. They are floating Mike Pompeo's name to see what the public reaction would be if he were to be named defense secretary. Yes, this is Reuters. Mike Pompeo is a potential defense secretary pick, which is very interesting because I do believe Mike Pompeo is the one that turned his back on Donald Trump after Donald Trump got raided by the FBI, when the FBI went into his home, ransacked Mar-a-Lago, and then said that he had illegal classified documents in his home. Here is Mike Pompeo on Fox News stabbing Donald Trump in the back.
On what Donald Trump is facing, and is it right to charge him?
Brian, good morning. Great to be with you. 2 things I think are both true at this point. First, if the allegations are true, and there's lots of indications that they are, President Trump had classified documents where he shouldn't have had them, and then when given the opportunity to return them, he chose not to do that for whatever reason. That's just, Brian, you talked about me having classified documents. I handled thousands and thousands of them over my time in Congress and then as a CIA director and Secretary of State. I suppose we can all make mistakes and get them to the wrong place, but when somebody identifies that, you got to turn them in. And so that's inconsistent with protecting America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. And if the allegations are true, some of these were pretty serious, important documents. And so that's wrong.
So first off, Mike Pompeo is responding to these allegations against Donald Trump. And I think the interesting thing here is how Mike Pompeo structured his sentences. He wasn't defending Donald Trump. He wasn't balanced. He wasn't unbiased about what was going on with this investigation around these supposed classified documents that the FBI found at Mar-a-Lago. No, he went to the other side where he was insinuating that all of this were true. Because he said the allegations, which appear to be true, and then he went on to juxtapose his handling of classified documents to the absurd way that Donald Trump was handling classified documents. You got to give them back. So this is who Mike Pompeo is. And I get it, politics is a cutthroat game. But there are more concerning things about Mike Pompeo. It's not just the fact that he was against Donald Trump during his classified documents case, against Donald Trump when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. It's also the fact that people like Tucker Carlson has raised the red flag about Mike Pompeo and the fact that he was the one that was pressuring Donald Trump not to release the JFK files. He wanted Julian Assange to be assassinated. And also one of his colleagues, one of Mike Pompeo's colleagues, or was it an advisor or a lawyer, actually called Tucker Carlson and threatened him personally. And I'll play for you that clip here in a second. But you may say, well, that's Mike Pompeo on Fox News. That's Mike Pompeo simply commenting in the moment about Donald Trump and this Mar-a-Lago debacle. Maybe he really didn't know what was going on. That's not true. Here is Mike Pompeo at a Israel Heritage Foundation dinner laughing about the fact that the FBI raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home.
Sure. What did Donald Trump up to? So the question is, what's President Trump up to? He's down in Mar-a-Lago watching the FBI raid his home. I mean, what happened there is outrageous. No one gets to keep classified information outside of the place classified information should be. That is certainly true. The Secretary of State, former Secretary of State doesn't get to keep it. No one does. But for the Department of Justice to behave the way they did by raiding the home of a former president is absolutely outrageous. And it is politicizing the Department of Justice that I fear is headed in a way that is not consistent with the understandings that we all have of the rule of law here in the United States.
So once again, he is laughing about the fact that the FBI raided Donald Trump's home. He kind of backs off from it just a bit by saying that the Department of Justice is politicizing their power, which I believe is a way of him kind of hedging his bets. But once again, he says that, nobody can keep these classified documents, when we all know that's not true. We all know these laws are being wielded as a political club, and that's not what happened in Donald Trump's case at all. But I think another interesting thing to look at is why Mike Pompeo would want to be Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense. I mean, he was very critical of him in the past. So why would he want to be in Trump's administration, other than, of course, just the power that it involves? Well, Mike Pompeo actually has financial ties to Ukraine. In this article, it talks about it. Pompeo has financial ties to Ukraine, including his appointment last November to the board of Kyivstar. And Kyivstar is a Ukrainian telecommunications giant. And I actually went to their website and I did a search just to fact check this, make sure it's all true. And it is true. Right here on their website, former U.S. Secretary of State, member of the supervisory board of Kyivstar, Mike Pompeo, met with the staff of the telecom operator in Ukraine. And then there's also two other articles that is on the site about Mike Pompeo. Vion welcomes former U.S. Secretary of State to Kyivstar board of directors. Pompeo will join the board of directors of Kyivstar. So that's very interesting. Also, the last thing I want to show you is this. Tucker Carlson, very critical of Mike Pompeo, raising the red flags, saying that this guy is actually evil. This guy is the kind of guy that you would not want anywhere near the levers of power. I mean, throw aside all the stuff he said about Donald Trump. That could just all be politics. He could just be playing politics. He made the wrong decision. You know, there was a lot of people that were, never Trumpers, that were against Trump for a little bit. Who is he really? And I think Tucker Carlson makes a really good case as to why Mike Pompeo should never, ever be near any administration in the U.S. government ever again. Listen.
Committed a crime. He's threatening me. It was in my car. With my dog sitting next to me, I'll never forget this. And I said, are you really saying that to reveal that the U.S. government had a role in the murder of a democratically elected president, to say that out loud, that's the crime? What about the actual crime, which is murdering a president? Like, you're covering up for that, Mike Pompeo. What did he say to that? He had no response at all. And so Mike Pompeo is the one who pressed Trump to keep those documents secret. And so it's like, what's crazy to me is not just that Pompeo did that. I think Pompeo is a really sinister person and a criminal. I think that because the facts suggest that. He was caught. Yahoo News, Mike Isikoff wrote a long piece on this several years ago. His employees went to Mike Isikoff and said, hey, Mike Pompeo is plotting to murder Julian Assange, who's never even been charged with a crime in the United States, as CIA director. That's illegal. You're not allowed. Federal employees are not allowed to just kill people they don't like. Okay, just set the baseline here. So that's who Mike Pompeo is. But he somehow intimidated Trump into not releasing this. Well, okay, that's all bad, right? I think it's criminal behavior.
So here's the deal. Now, when I look at Mike Pompeo, I see a guy who has completely sided with the deep state. If you look at his history, if you look at what he's done, what he said, how he talks about Donald Trump, he is a guy who is sided with the deep state. And that'd be perfectly okay if the deep state was, had America first agenda. But unfortunately, they don't. We've seen it time and time again where they pressure these individuals that we put in office not to release certain information, where they send billions of dollars overseas, and that's doing nothing to help the United States. It's only doing everything that they can to enrich themselves and the military-industrial complex. That is who Mike Pompeo is. I mean, put aside the fact that he stabbed Donald Trump in the back, but look at what he said about Julian Assange. Like Tucker Carlson said here, he wanted to have him assassinated. That is what these guys feel like they should do with their power. They have an ideological agenda, and if someone gets in their way, if someone exposes them, they say that person should be eliminated. So I don't think Mike Pompeo should be anywhere near the levers of power ever. So that's my opinion. So whoever floated this pick in front of, Trump supporters to see what their reaction would be, that's my reaction. How about absolutely, categorically no? But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Mike Pompeo? Am I wrong? Do you like Mike Pompeo? Do you think he's reformed? Yeah, right. These politicians rarely ever reform. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.